The show where anything goes. Motivation, mindset, recovery, philosophy, and life. We become who we are through what we experience. We all have a story, and this is My Backstory with Josh Boyer.
The My Backstory podcast with the real Doc Todd. A lot of you already know who Doc Todd is, but I'm going to have you do a brief introduction of yourself, a little bit of your background, kind of who you are for the listeners who don't know who you are, so you can kind of give them a brief overview.
Yeah, Doc Todd, 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines, Echo Company, Marine Corps Infantry Unit. Unique and incredible career there, and now I'm doing music and creative content to try to impact veterans. But I think that anything that you need to know about me, you're about to find out in the midst of this conversation. So I'm working, we're doing things, we're trying to make a difference, but let's get it.
All right, man. So the first question I'm going to ask you sounds pretty simple, but it's actually kind of deep, and that's how you doing?
Yeah. Good and bad. Like, I have a lot of things, I think we have a tendency to focus on the things that we need to work on, right? Like, I'm very cognizant of some of my weaknesses right now. I'm cognizant of the fact that I'm, leaning on alcohol a little bit too much right now. I'm cognizant of the fact that, I need to get back in the gym. I need to be working out. But, like, at the same time, as far as professionally, like, I'm creating some of the most impactful and some of the best work of my career. And, I got a lot of plates spinning, as they say, or a lot of balls juggling. And I'm just trying to, maintain some stability and continue to be a good example. But this shit ain't easy, man. I mean, like, what I'm doing, my life, what I'm trying to do, who I'm trying to be is daunting. It's a daunting task. It's what many would say is unreachable or impossible, and it does not come without stress and without problems, for sure.
Yeah, we talked about something offline that I kind of want you to share a little bit more because it's heavy. And the fact is like, you're out here trying to make a difference. You're out here trying to help other veterans. And in the interim, like while you're doing all that, you're struggling internally yourself. And how do you deal with that, man? How do you get through it? Because I just posted something today online about my anxiety mind, where it's like my frantic and panicked anxiety mind. And it's like, it's a poem of like everything that I have going on internally. And I think people see me like doing the podcast, they see me traveling or doing whatever it is I'm doing and trying to make a positive difference. But what they don't see is what's happening internally with me, like the messages that I get from people, the things that I try and help people with. Sometimes it's bringing up some shit to the surface for me as well. And so I want you to go into that a little bit, like we were talking about offline.
Yeah, well, I mean, offline, online, all the same shit now. Because, like, it's a fucking shit show. I mean, we were talking about Rory earlier. Rory Hamill, someone who became, a leader to me, a mentor to me in a lot of ways, someone who's out there helping other veterans, but ultimately someone who ended up claiming their own life because of the stress that they're under. I imagine that you deal with a lot of the same stuff that he did, same stuff that I do. People look to us for answers. They look to us for leadership, for mentorship, to be an example. And a lot of times, not only am I dealing with my own demons, but now I'm having to, walk away from my family at 2:30 in the morning and wake up and like deal with this guy who's got a gun to his head. And the only person that he wants to talk to right now is Doc Todd, or the only person that he wants to talk to right now is Josh Boyer or Rory Hamill, because we touched him in some hard place or some deep place. And I think what a lot of our community doesn't understand is that, like, this is a journey and this is a progression for me. Like, I still struggle all the time. Like, I still have all my own shit that I'm dealing with. And a lot of times it's, I don't know, man, it's so hard to articulate because it's like you want to show the vulnerability, the weakness, and be authentic. But at the same time, that you've been called to some, larger meaning in your life to help steward other people. And you were like, okay, I want to show some control, but like sometimes I'm like dying on the inside just like everybody else. And now I'm not even dealing with my own stuff. I have to use my free time to try to help other people, not kill themselves and not have problems, because that's the burden that I chose to bear. That's the call on my life from God that I chose to pick up. And sometimes it's to my own detriment. I was actually much healthier prior to combat medicine. Like, I was much healthier physically. I was much healthier mentally. I was much healthier emotionally. And for a split second, I was the healthiest I've ever been after it came out. But then all the noise came in, and all the pressure, and all the people needing stuff. And then, are you going to make it? Are you not going to make it? What is making it? And shit like that. I don't know if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. And I think one of the other things you said earlier before we started recording was that you understood how Rory was in his place. Like, you could see very easily, like, you could put yourself in his position. And for a lot of people that look up to you, I think you're 100% right. They see you as a mentor. They see you as someone they're going to for leadership. But there's a lot of pressure where that's concerned. You know what I mean? There is a lot of, like, you feel an obligation to, like, help people. You feel an obligation to respond to every message, an obligation to, like, make sure that people are okay. But I think behind all that, you need to make sure you're okay. Because if you're not okay, you can't help other people,
Well, I think it starts with the mission too. Like, because in the beginning, like, when I wrote Combat Medicine, that was 1,000% about emptying the vault as it pertains to what I dealt with in Afghanistan, what I dealt with after it, and then trying to create content that would help other people to build, that would help other people to become stronger. Somewhere along the way, like, a year after or so or more, I lost my way, and it became about me. It became about how can I build a career from this, and not in necessarily a selfish or wrong way, but it just became about, like, how can I make this sustainable? How can I monetize this? How can I make this my life's calling where it makes sense for me and my family? How can I do X? How can I do Y? How can I do Z? And somewhere along that journey, I actually forgot about what the purpose was and the mission was, which is to help other people. Because now I'm trying to figure out how to execute this bitch from a business standpoint. And, like, how can I create a sustainable business and continue to do what I'm doing and have those things help other people? When actually those are probably two separate missions, and they were probably two separate missions all along. And that's the part that I've been struggling with is, like, the profit versus the nonprofit world, and trying to carve out a living here and try to maintain my heart and my focus and my authenticity and my message upon, like, making a difference in other people's lives. I think whatever phone call you're on right now is completely jacking up our feed, man. And I love you to death, but I do think that. All right. But yeah, like, I mean, it's juggling those things. And I know you juggle those to some degree, and you can share as much as you want to share about those. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm trying to build a business also. And this shit doesn't pay very well, especially in 2020 when you're talking about streaming music and streaming videos. I got to sell merch. I got to do speaking engagements. I got to do live shows. I got to find a way, because everyone says don't quit, but nobody's fucking ringing my cash register, right? So it's like, that comes with its own challenges.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in, man. Like, I got into that spot with the podcast, man, where, like, I was traveling all over the country, and, like, I had to get real with myself and be like, listen, man, I'm trying my best to make a difference. And, like, part of making that difference was flying to everyone individually to do these podcasts. And, like, there was times where, like, you wanted me to go out to Atlanta. I was like, dude, I want to make it happen. And I'm trying to, like, juggle it all and make to where it all makes sense. And it got to the point where I couldn't afford to, like, just go do one podcast. That's what I was doing initially. It's like, I need to make sure that wherever I go, I have multiple podcasts set up to where it makes the trip a little bit more worthwhile. There's more, like, there's something else that can come out of it instead of one podcast. And I wasn't monetizing at all, dude. And I got to a place where I was, like, in this financial hole, and I was like, man, like, fuck what I do, like, yeah. I need to, like, figure it out. And, like, a lot of people there was a lot of encouragement. There was a lot of support for what I was doing. But it wasn't paying my bills, and I was trying to be authentic, but at the same time be a realist and be like, hey, listen, like, I still have bills to pay. I still, like, I'm doing my best. Like, I have an editor, I have the podcast platform that I pay for, like, all these different things, they all cost money, And so I'm in that spot now where it's like, I'm being more honest with myself and being like, it's okay to get paid for what you're doing if you're good at what you're doing. And if people are liking it and it's all good, like, I shouldn't feel guilty about that. And for a long time I did. I was like, dude, I don't want to be a schmuck. I don't want to be taking people's money. But at the end of the day, like, it costs money to put this stuff out,
Yeah, no, I need money, bro. Like, I need people to buy some shit. Like, straight up. Like, it's not. It doesn't have anything to do with selfish intentions. Like, I just think when you're doing something for good, now all of a sudden everybody's got their eyes and their hearts and their minds on your pocketbook. Like, get your motherfucking mind off my pocketbook. Like, get your shit off my wallet. Like, fuck you. Like, you know what I mean? We're dying out here trying to make a difference. You know, buy a fucking shirt. You know what I mean? Like buy something. You know what I mean? And it's just not that I have anger towards people who don't, but like, if you're not operating in this game, then you don't understand what we're talking about right now. And that's fine. And those people cannot understand what we're talking about right now. But for the people that do, you know what I'm talking about. Like, we're out here busting ass and balls and pocketbooks and families and, you know, putting everything on the line to try to do something for somebody else. And at the end of the day, if it can just make me like a moderate living, that's all I'm asking for. Like, I'm not asking to become rich or to become some mogul or some figure or some this or some that. But like, if you want me to continue my work, then when there's opportunities to financially support the work that we're doing, then please, like, by all means, like, spend $5, spend $10, like, do something to help us keep the wheels turning, because it's a war out here to do this shit. And, I don't think that the people that receive the information understand how much we sacrifice to get this shit out there. Like, you know, I mean, we just did a project right now. It was just kind of like, the way I explained it to my wife was like, I'm in the foxhole. I've got one round chambered in my 9mm. If you ever need your handgun in combat, you're already fucked. Like, I'm shooting hollow points out the fucking hole. Like, this is desperation. You know, we've reached the point of desperation. I've almost done all that I can possibly do, you know, and it's never going to be 9/11, and it's never going to be this, or it's never going to be that. And it doesn't matter how much better you get or how much it's so based on the opinions of others. And then, you know, the purchasing behaviors or the, you know, willingness to support financially of others. And it just gets to a point where it's wearing on you. And to get back to try to not be on a tangent and to bring it back full circle, I understand how somebody like Rory took their life. I get it. You know, I mean, I've been in a fucking shitty place. You know, you want to talk about COVID? Like, I lost about $100,000 worth of speaking engagements on my books for a year. Got laid off from a job. Got laid off from a day job. Lost $100,000 in appearance fees, and now I can't even perform live for the foreseeable future. So, like, 3 of the 4 largest portions of my revenue are fucking gone. But everybody's like, "Don't quit." You know, I would say that's cute to say. You know, respect.
Yeah. Yep.
So
now I think a lot of people don't get it. You know, like, they see the facade, they see what you put out on social media, and they don't understand the grind that's behind all that. You know, and the pressure that's behind all that. To like, you know, and I talked to another guy about how he chooses on his platform to always stay positive, to always share the positive stuff, and not, you know, share anything negative, which is admirable. I think it's awesome. But for me, it's like, I want to share like really what's in my heart. And sometimes it's probably going to be negative. Sometimes it's probably going to be some hurtful shit that like I'm hurting inside. So I need to share it, because I feel like by doing that, I'm being real with people. They can see that I'm a fallible human being. I'm not this person. Like, whoever you see, like, if you meet me in person, I always want it to be the same person that you see on social media. Anything that I post on social media, just know whenever you meet me in person, that's what you're going to get. Like, I'm not any different, you know?
You're not posting highlight reels. I don't post highlight reels anyway. And like a lot of my mentors, like some really high level business people that appreciate what I'm doing, again, those same motherfuckers need to cut the check and stop talking shit. Just cut the check. Like, cause they're full of shit too at the end of the day. But they're like, you know, don't show these people that you're working at Domino's, or don't show these people that you got laid off. And it's like, this is not a highlight reel. Like, this is actually my life. And I think the one compelling part of the story, as far as the rise to success or the rise to riches, the rise to fame, or the rise to influence, is that nobody shows the grind. Everybody is speaking to it after they've already accomplished it. Well, here's an opportunity to watch it happen. Because if you're watching me, it's going to happen, because failure is not an option. There's no way I fail. There's no way I fail. Now, it might not look like what we all intended it to look like in the beginning, but there's no way that I fail. No matter where I have to adjust fire or what I have to do, I'm going to figure out a way to impact veterans and make money doing it, period. because that's what's in my heart and that's what God's called me to do. And whether it's podcasts or film or music, or whether it's, you know, we're working on a documentary right now called Chasing Shelter, which is about homeless veterans. Like, you know, we're going to try to sell that shit to Netflix for like 20 mil. Like, we're sitting in big boy meetings talking about $20 million. Like, I needed 1.5 million to shoot this motherfucker. Like, we're having real meetings. We're talking about real stuff. We're talking about, we're going to keep doing it until it's quote unquote successful, but it may not be me as a hip hop artist, and that's okay. You know.
You know what I like about it, man, is that you're sharing like I'm not gonna say the dark side, but you're being honest with the fact of like, hey man, like I'm in this to make money. You know what I mean? Like it's out of the kindness of my heart. Like I have a lot, you can tell, dude, you have a lot of love for the veteran community, but at the end of the day, like it's got to pay your bills. And I think, like I said, man, I had a lot of shame or guilt or whatever you want to call it of like, I don't want to get too greedy, or I don't want to feel like people are like, I'm just doing this for the money. Cause it's a huge, like, it's the passion, and it's like my passion, my purpose to do exactly what I'm doing. But I mean, I gotta pay the bills too. So.
You got babies at the house. You have a wife. Like I don't even have to be super rich. Like I said, I'll take the normal salary life and do this stuff for the rest of my life, or run a nonprofit and get, you know, people to help fund it and to fund ways to help veterans, empower them in the creative space, whether it be music or art. But like, you know, here's the bottom line. Like, you know, I have a mentality of a winner, right? And my dad always told me it's not about the money. That's just how you keep score. You know, it's how you know whether or not what you're doing is working or not. Okay, so like what I'm doing right now is not working financially, and it's what I want to do. So the bottom line is I can find a way to make it work financially, or B, quit. You know what I mean? It's like because if not, I'm going to go do something else. I'm going to go work for a bank or go work for an insurance company. My background's finance and sales and, you know, economics and all that. So I'd probably go work for, you know, a bank or a wealth management company or something like that. Like, at the end of the day, does someone like me need to be doing that to make a little bit of money, or do I need to be doing what the fuck I'm doing? And I think I need to be doing what I'm doing right now. And I think I got to figure out, it's my test in life to figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah. I went back to corporate America actually just recently. And, you know, a lot of people were like, oh, dude, you're going back to corporate, you know, this and that. I'm like, yeah, dude, I got to stack some more chips, dude. Like, you know, like I got to figure this. So I took a little hiatus from the podcast, and it was like, you know, I was getting a lot of messages like, dude, are you coming back? Like, what's the deal? You know, like, are you quitting? It's like, no, man, I have to make some money, dude, you know? And then I got laid off, and it was kind of a blessing in disguise. My wife and I started our own company, so we have something we're doing on the side, which is totally cool.
I love how everybody else knows about your life except you.
Right.
Yeah. Bro, like, respectfully, like, and I'm nice to everyone, but like, you don't know shit that I'm dealing with, you know. And I tell, like, we tell the truth, right? We don't give the highlight reel, but we're also men. I'm not going to go cry on social media about all the shit that I'm dealing with. Like, I'm not going to go do that. That's not going to happen. And I'm not here for your fucking entertainment. Like I'm still a human being, you know, and I think that's the part when you become this entity or you become this figure. It's like, I can only imagine what people at the highest levels feel, but like, even at a lower level, I feel like I'm not here for your entertainment. Like, I have my own fucking life. I have my own crap that I'm dealing with. You know, we're working so hard to touch you. Like, what are you doing to try to touch me, motherfucker? Like, nothing, you know, but yet there's so much judgment, and yet there's so much. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like I need.
No, it does. No, I can feel that for sure. I want to ask you another question, man. This is a deeper question. It's have you ever contemplated or attempted suicide?
Yeah.
Can you go into detail about that?
Yeah, definitely contemplated. It was really more so the most of my life was probably more like a year and a half or 2 years ago, probably like a year after combat medicine, after I quit my day job to go do combat medicine, and then it was very successful in the sense of like it created national press. We were on CNN, HON, Sanjay Gupta, NPR, like all kinds of shit. And I kind of thought, like, I started to develop some expectations around, you know, like, this is going to be successful. Like, this might be it. Like, we're about to run, and like, we're about to do this and do that. And then I went fucking flat broke. You know, I went from making, you know, 6 figures a year and, being really successful and really happy, and not being someone who dwelled on the negative things in my military life, to being someone who was now broke, who was someone who was living in the pain of my military life, someone who was feeling a lot of pressure from the outside world, who was getting a lot of pain from people from the outside world. And, there was a time in my life where I wasn't really, putting food on the table for my wife and for my kids. And I felt like I'd be better off dead, and I genuinely felt like I'd be better off dead, and that they'd be better off if I wasn't here. And, that was a really rough time in my life. And that's when I actually did check myself into the VA, and, was there for a week. And when those thoughts became something that was a part of like almost my daily life, my wife, she put, and it was during when, I don't know if anyone knows who Zakari is. Zakari is a guy that I fought with in Afghanistan, somebody who I was bringing up in the music business, extremely talented. We were in the same unit. We fought together overseas, and we started pouring our life into like helping build him up. Like, and the whole time it was breaking me down. It was breaking us down. And then, long story short, he ended up kind of fucking us over and doing his thing. And then, I got in the car with my wife, and I was probably, 2 fists of vodka in, and we pulled up to the emergency roundabout at the VA. And I was like, if this cop comes up to this window, then I'll go in. If he doesn't, fuck you, drive me home. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I need some intervention. Like, if this guy comes up, then I'll get in. And if he doesn't, I won't. And the cop walked up to the window, and he was like, buddy, what's going on? What's up? And I was like, I'm dying, bro. I'm dying inside. And I started crying. I remember holding my daughter in my hand and walking down the hallway. and I had my little girl in my hand, and I was walking down the hallway and checked myself in the ER. And, things got better. Things got better after that for a while. And now I feel like things have been better a lot, but also it's like feel the same pressure mounting again. It's like more pressure and more shit. And it's always like, when will there be like this big win? Like, when will there be this big moment that, takes all this shit away, and it just doesn't seem to come. But it's not because I'm not fighting for it,
Right. I mean,
So,
when you got to the, no, I appreciate it, man. It's welcome here, brother, for sure. When you got to that place, man, where you felt like the pressure had mounted too much, where like you were about to check out, what do you think kept you from going down the path and like actually taking your life? What kept you from doing it?
It's not the end of my story. I don't think it should be the end of anyone's story. Like, I'm gonna go out on my sword, dude. You know what I mean? Like, even if I felt like I'm gonna go out on my sword, I'm gonna go out fighting for, the people I believe in, fighting for my family, fighting for the life that I want. And I don't think that that's the only thing. I think my belief in God and belief in, a higher power has something to do with that. The fact that I have, really high level family structure and support helped that. I think that, I think there's a lot of factors, and I don't look down on people that end up, do taking their own life, but I just think that there's like, that is the absolute worst alternative of the millions that exist, right? Because, it again, as cliche as it sounds, it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And as bad as some of the times have been over the last 3 years, I've had equally as good of highs,
Yeah.
Meetings with the Billionaire Boys Club, meeting with Netflix, like, it's always shit popping. Like, we're always so close to doing something huge. And I think a lot of it, like, comes with the territory and it comes with the journey. And, I love my wife. I love my kids. I love God. I love the veterans that I feel called to serve. And I just won't, even if that's what I want, I won't do that. Like, even if it's not for me, like, I won't do it for other people.
Right. When you've been in your darkest moments, like what's gotten you out? What are some things that you've done to get out of your funk?
Yeah. I mean, when I was really sick, I needed to go to the hospital. And I ended up going to the hospital then, when I was in my absolute darkest. And then, some of the things that have helped a lot is obviously music. Music has been helpful, and then leading and pouring my life into other people as a teacher or as a mentor has helped a lot. And now I'm starting to hear from so many people that I love and trust, like how important the physicality portion of it is, like how important, getting your endorphins going and working out again, and just remembering how I felt when I really was a warrior, like remembering how I felt when I got up at 5:30 in the morning and ran 3 miles and, did 18 pull-ups and 90 sit-ups and however many push-ups, like remembering what it felt like to be that person. And I'm starting to really believe in the physical aspects of healing, as far as healing your emotional and healing your mental. But I've always leaned on music, and I've leaned on my family, and I've leaned a lot on alcohol. Um, I'm a drinker for sure. It's something I've gotten better at over time, but it's something that I've definitely leaned on for sure. And I don't know if there's an easy answer. For people who really are dealing with this type of shit, like it's not necessarily like an easy answer, and it's not going to be an easy out. I think it's a process.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. And I think I talked to Dan Clancy, who he was the one that kind of encouraged me to do this whole 12-part series, and he was the first episode. And one of the things we talked about was alcohol, and how like if you did a statistical study of like the veterans that have gone all the way and committed suicide, how many of them were intoxicated when they did? And I think, I don't know, but like I think that number would be staggering, dude. Like fucking it would be huge that they were intoxicated in some way, shape, or form. And 2.5 years ago, I quit drinking like completely. I was like, I need to be done. Like I just have to be done. Because I knew that like I had these moments where I was in these low places, and alcohol did nothing but make me feel even lower. Like if anything, it numbed me, like where it would numb me to the point that I wasn't present for anything. Like I wasn't present for my kids, wasn't present for my wife. I could go and socialize because I was lubricated and it was all good. I wasn't as anxious, but then the next couple days or whatever, it's like I have a 2, 3, 4 day hangover, and it's like this sucks. And initially when I quit, it was like probably one of the hardest things I had done. Because it was like, dude, now you're facing everything head on. You have nothing blocking it. Like you got to deal with it. And I can tell you, man, from personal experience, dude, like it's made my life abundantly better for sure. And the habit of it used to be like, oh man, like, am I going to drink today? Like shit, like, and I was always like dwelling on it. And it's becoming to the point now where the habit of not drinking is bigger than the habit of drinking. So yeah, it's just like one of those things. And I feel like I'm more available to have open conversations with people now. I'm more available to be of service to people when I'm not intoxicated. It felt like a pressure, like we talked about in the beginning. Like it felt a lot of pressure at first because like, dude, I announced the fact that I wasn't going to drink anymore. And now when those pressures came and I felt like, dude, I just want to have a cocktail right now. It's like, dude, if I do, like, am I fucking cheating myself? Am I like misleading all these people? And now it's like, no, I'm not, because like I'm just not going to drink. I just choose not to. It's like it feels better not drinking, So I'm thinking about doing a challenge for like the veteran community, like because I think that's what we relate with most is a challenge, and a challenge to like see how long we can go without drinking, see how long you can go to like the road to, because like you said, it's a process. It's not something that happens overnight.
Yeah, no, there was a time when I was sober for, I think I went like 8 months or 9 months without drinking after my hospitalization.
Yep.
And I was in substance abuse treatment and all that stuff like that. And somewhere in the midst of that process, like what you were talking about is, there's not anywhere really to hide. And then you've got to kind of own your story in a way that you've never owned it before. And you have to own your behavior in a way that you never owned it before. And, if there was one part of it that probably kept me from maintaining a sober lifestyle, it was like I didn't feel like I was the AA guy.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I needed to be an AA. I didn't, because I'm a binge drinker, blah, blah, blah. A million rationalizations. Maybe I need to be an AA. Maybe I don't. Who fucking knows? But, at the end of the day, it was like I couldn't imagine myself as being a guy who was incapable of having a drink at my daughter's wedding or, doing this or doing that. But the bottom line is I worked myself to that point. But the point I was making is somewhere in the middle of my sobriety was this time where it was like, like you said, there was nothing to hide from. Like there were no rationalizations, there were no excuses, there was nothing to hide from. It's like you've got to deal with your shit, and you can't compartmentalize it. And at some point in that, I found my greatest strength, and where I found my greatest strength as a human being, as a person, I was 100% sober, and I was sober for a relatively long period of time. And I hate that that's not the case today. And I felt a lot of the same pressures, like, oh shit, now I want to have a drink. Do I fail all these people because I'm having a drink now? And I said, I'm going to stop drinking. And that's where it is so much, like there is still so much of an element of a personal journey, even if you live a public life, we live a public life. Like I'm accessible, I'm available. Like you can go look at my shit. You can cast whatever judgment you like. You can think whatever you think. You can feel what you feel. You can listen to my lyrics. You can do whatever you please. But like at the end of the day, that's my life. It's on Front Street, and I have no idea. I don't know the slightest thing about yours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, the quote unquote haters, like the haters that you get, those are the people you click on their pages, and there's nothing up there. There's no pictures. There's no explanation of anything. It's just, people that are there to, seemingly make your life harder. But I mean,
nah, man, I've had a couple people like reach out to me a couple times. I mean, it doesn't happen very often, but like I posted a picture with somebody and someone's like, I can tell that you're on opiates right now because the way my pupils looked or whatever. And I think my phone was like in portrait mode or whatever. And it was like, I was so offended by that comment at first. I was like, man, this motherfucker, like I've struggled so hard to get clean from all this shit. And like, how dare him say that like he knows I'm on opiates and shit right now. I'm like, I was really, I was bummed out by it, but then I kind of woke up. I mean, after the last couple of years, I've kind of come to the conclusion that I can walk into a room and meet with a bunch of different people, and I can walk out of that room with a bunch of different reputations, with a bunch of different, perceptions of what people think of me or whatever. So it's like, I have no control over what other people think. All I got is control of is what's inside and what I'm doing and how I react to shit. And, I'm not going to give anybody that power anymore, So if they want to comment and say stupid shit, I'm not even going to delete it. I'm not going to block it. I don't care. Like, cause it's like, you know what? Like, if you want to take the time out of your day to like come and comment some bullshit on somebody else's page you don't even know, why am I going to, Mike Ritland was on my podcast, and one of the things he said was like, if you allow yourself to get angry over something someone says, he's like, you might as well just put all your emotions in a nice little suitcase and just hand it over to the person. Because you just gave them control of you. You just gave them control, like power over you by allowing them to like their words to like upset you. And I was like, wow, it's a good perspective. And so I'm working. It's a work in progress. Obviously.
I wish I was more like that, dude. I don't delete them anymore anyway, but I do delete posts whenever the fuck I feel like it, because I feel like it's my prerogative. I can put things up and take things down when and whenever and however and wherever I please.
Yep.
So I do believe that, and some people have taken a certain opinion of that, like, oh, you put stuff up and then you take it down, like, are you regretting it? Like, no, motherfucker. Like, if I put up a picture of my kids, that could be like available for 16 hours. Like, you're not going to get that shit for life. You know what I mean? Like, that's short-term availability. You know what I mean? Like, right. I can put stuff up and take stuff down as I please. That's my prerogative. And that piece I'm cool with, and I'm getting more cool with being judged. I would say the more and more people that I reach, but I mean, it's not even necessarily about that. It's just like the more and more comfortable that I get living my life like so naked.
Yep.
I'm naked, bro. Like, it's just a whole lot of big nakedness going on.
No, for real. And I think that's there's a lot of people though that aren't that way, even though with bigger platforms and more followings, whatever, that they're not naked. I mean, they're just like you said, they're doing the highlight reel, but like there's something to be said about people that are actually putting the real shit out there and say, hey, this is what's really going on. At the end of the day, it's your page and your life, and you can choose to do with it what you want.
I wish
And I
I, I
say,
wish I, I wish I didn't have to have it. I wish that my profession
oh,
didn't
dude,
require it. Because like I was talking to my sergeant major the other day, I have like a great relationship with my sergeant major, Sergeant Major LaFountain, and he's been off social media for a year. And I talked to him and I said, hey, we got this big thing coming out. You know, we got this project coming out called Sammy.
yeah,
And you know, for your listeners, we'll give your listeners an exclusive look into what's about to happen. So obviously, we've had the Ahmaud Arbery situation, and now George Floyd. We've had, you know, huge civil unrest in this country as it pertains to race relations, et cetera, et cetera. The majority of the people that I work with on a daily basis, and the majority of our family friends are black. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So you know, I feel like that we have maybe a little more of a, I guess, a realistic scope on like how they feel and what's going on, because we have deep relationships with black people, like my family, my kids, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, I have something to say about the situation, and I have something to say about my life and who I am. And I don't think that my life's been easy. I don't think my life's been necessarily privileged. I think my life's been very difficult. I think I've made a lot of sacrifices. I think I've worked really hard to get to where I am and things of this nature. And so we created this song called Sammy, and it's about it's a coming of age story about a young black man. He's like about 19 or 20 years of age, and all the things that he's seen and experienced in his life that he's telling me that I have no idea about. And I accept those things to be true where they're true. And I also say, hey, hold up a second. Let me tell you about my experience with Sammy. Let me tell you about my experience with Uncle Sam. Let me tell you about the bloodshed. Let me tell you about the pain. Let me tell you about the addiction. Let me tell you about all the places where maybe you think I had it easy where I didn't. And but at the same time, let me also simultaneously apologize for the things that I don't understand and let you know that I'm coming from a place of love. And I've never been a human being ever in the history of my life. I've never, and I could ask the same thing about you. Like, I don't know about you. I don't know about you, Josh. Hold on, my headphones are falling out. This is real important. I don't know about you, but I have never in my life, never, one time in my life, sat at a table with a group of white men and contemplated a way to make life harder on black people.
never.
It's never happened in my life. I've never been invited to that table. I've never spoke at that table. I've never listened at that table. Yet these things exist. But yet here's a picture of my life and me being a person who's never sat at that table and never experienced those things. Someone who had to go pull triggers to pay for a college education. So let me share with you this. Let me share with you my life. And I think that one of the things that we accomplished in Sammy that has never been accomplished in hip hop history, respectfully, is that we provided a duality of perspective. At the end of the day, I'm a poor white kid from South Memphis who fought in Afghanistan, who's, you know, come up and built a decent life and, you know, grew up in a black community, work in a predominantly black industry, live in a predominantly black town, you know, and here's how I really feel. And, you know, we've created this project that's, I mean, it's never been done before. You got a lot of hip hop songs out there from one perspective, but not from another perspective, or not from both perspectives. And not only do we find differences and things that we can talk about and learn from, but we also find a whole lot of commonality. And I think when people see this visual and they hear this song and they see the story, like, I think it's going to offer something unique. And the funny thing is, we were working on it long before the murder of George Floyd. We were working on this, you know, for a while. And so it's going to be polished and it's going to be ready when it comes out, because this is something we've been actually working on for a while. So I'm really excited about it, about this
And
particular release.
I can't wait to check it out, man. And I think it's important because I think there's an interesting conversation happening in the country right now. And I think part of it is, you know, for me, it's like it's showing me who people are, you know what I mean? Because people I don't want at my table, you know what I mean? Like, there's people that are like blatantly disrespectful or whatever. It's like, dude, I don't want to be around those kind of people. Like, but I see things for what they are. And like my story, although I'm Caucasian and although I didn't have like you, I didn't have the same experiences that my black brothers had, but there are experiences that I've had that are very similar to the ones that they had, or maybe even worse in some regards. But I want to do, I mean, I think for me, like this whole George Floyd murder situation, man, was like, it was an eye opener for me. It really opened my eyes to just the hate that's out there. I guess like when you're in your own little silo and you're kind of just doing your own thing, you're staying in your lane. I was kind of not oblivious, but like I really wasn't paying attention. I wasn't doing much to be more of a leader in stopping some of the nonsense. You know what I mean? And even the town I grew up in, I mean, I'm not going to say it was blatantly racist, but it was racist for sure. And it was, you had a lot of entrenched old school ways of thinking, you know what I mean? And just ignorant thinking. And I want to do my part to change some of that and like open people's eyes. And the first thing I did right after it happened, I called my buddy who we were in the military together. He's actually stationed back at the base we were stationed together in England. And so I called him and was like, hey, man, I need to talk to you about all this stuff. And he was like, let's talk, man. So we talked for like 2 hours. But he was out here in California visiting, and we walked through a Nordstrom one day, and I'm carrying a Nordstrom bag and he's carrying a Foot Locker bag. And like the looks he was getting was like kind of repulsive. You know what I mean? Like you could feel the energy from people like coming his way versus coming my way. You know what I mean? And it was like, that's weird. You know what I mean? And I never saw it from his angle before, And so I think for this whole George Floyd thing really helped me to like open my eyes to seeing the other perspective,
So this is, fuck it, I'll just say it. So I want to not include companies and all this. When we were shooting the Diet Coke spot out in Brooklyn, we're shooting the Diet Coke spot, the unlabeled spot. I was, honored and privileged to be a part of this spot. One of the makeup and wardrobe, hair individuals was a Black transgender woman. Okay. Super cool person, like massively cool. Like if there was anybody that I like connected with on set, it was this person, this girl. And her house ended up being near where my house was, and she was like, oh, I know the spot to get like great queso and margaritas. Like, let's go grab some margaritas and queso, like celebrate the wrap and finish it. She got my clothing together. She got my wardrobe together. She got my jewelry together. She got all my shit together for the Diet Coke spot. She was like next to me the whole time. So we go out and we get these chips and salsa and these margaritas and this shit like this. And nothing weird. I'm not trying to, hit on this girl or do anything. Nothing crazy going on. Just like homies from the shoot, hanging out, getting something to eat, And the looks that she got, the looks that came towards our direction, like that was probably the first time in my life where I was like, you had a whole bunch of people looking at you like they hate you, and you're like, yo, this is what that feels like. Like this is what hate feels like, And it was a woke period in my life where I'm not like casting any judgment. Like, fuck it, let's get some chips and dip. Like, let's drink, let's have a good time. Who gives a fuck? Like, whatever. And I can only imagine what she went through on a daily basis. Like I can't possibly imagine like being looked at like that all the time or being treated like that all the time. And that was an eye-opening experience for me. And I catch my occasional looks in the city of Atlanta where it's like, who's this country ass white boy? Like who's this Trump voter? Who's this deplorable here? You know what I mean? Like who's this motherfucker right here? Like I get that, but it wasn't anything like the looks that day.
Yeah, no, it's a trip, man. It's crazy when you see the different perspectives, man. Like my buddy was telling me, he's like, what's crazy is that you could walk in, he's from New Orleans, and he's like, you could come with me to New Orleans, to the worst part of New Orleans as a white dude. And if you're with me, you're totally cool. Nobody's going to mess with you. No one's going to say shit to you. The only thing they might say if you act kind of weird about, is this dude a cop? Like, what's going on with this dude,
Yeah.
Other than that, like no one's gonna mess with you. He's all, dude, if you were driving by the neighborhood and you pulled your car over and you like saw a cookout or whatever, you're like, man, I smell that food from a mile away. Like, man, get yourself a plate. He's all, and they're super hospitable and like whatever. And I can't say that for my community. You know what I mean? I can't say the same thing for the white community. And I was like, wow, dude, that's so true, man. Because I've witnessed it. I've seen it.
Yeah, I grew up in a black community, and it was like, I was talking to my wife today. I was like, there was a couple times I was tested. I was physically tested because of the color of my skin. Like, can this white dude throw hands?
Yep.
Like, can this motherfucker stick up for himself? Like, I'm gonna test him on the court. I'm gonna test him in the cafeteria. I'm gonna test him on the block. Let's see what's up with this dude. Like, let's see if this dude can go. But after that, it was nothing but love, hospitality, warmth, authenticity,
Yep.
realness. When I meet a black person, and I have massive amounts of black family friends, et cetera, et cetera, I don't feel like I'm meeting their representative. I feel like I'm actually meeting them. I'm not like meeting the person that they want me to meet or like want to portray to the world.
That's a great point, man.
I'm meeting them. Like when I met Mook, I met Mook. When I met Nene, I met Nene. When I met KJ, I met KJ or Shooter or whoever. I met them. I met their family. I met their kids. I met them where they were. Whatever their situation was, good or bad. I feel like a lot of times when I meet people in our community, the white community, I'm meeting their representative.
Wow.
Now I have to like prove myself that I'm worthy of talking to you. Like with my socioeconomic status, with my job, with my house, with the amount of money in my bank account, with where I frequent. And I find myself answering these dumb questions like, what do you do for a living? Like, motherfucker, who are you?
Yeah.
Like, who are you to be asking this? I rap, motherfucker. I rap.
Yeah.
How about that? What do you think about that? I'm a 35-year-old white rapper. What the fuck do you think about that? You know what I mean? Like,
dude,
we got an issue with that? Like, cause let's just start there. Cause I mean, there's so much more to us than what we do for a living. And there's actually so much more to my occupation than me rapping. Like rapping is actually just a small part of what I do, but it is part of what I do. And it's the most visible part of what I do. So it's like,
so funny you said that, man. I used to tell my wife after I've had 6 back surgeries, and so after the last back surgery,
6?
Yeah, 6. Yeah.
I thought I was a G, and I had one really big one. I had the L5S1 lumbar fusion. I had the Tiger Woods joint. I had the Tiger Woods.
They fused L3 to L4, L4 to L5, and L5 to S1, and they did it through the front and the back on this last surgery. And
if you ever were doing opiates, that's the reason why.
Well, yeah, dude. So I did all those surgeries and I got hooked on all the shit. So then when I had the last back surgery, I did it all without any pain pills. Like I went into the hospital. They did the surgery as a 12-hour operation. They had to saw through my old fusion and take pieces of my spine out, put new hardware, all kinds of other crazy stuff. And so yeah, it was a 12-hour operation. And when I got home, I didn't take any pain pills. I didn't take anything, just water. No weed, no CBD, no nothing. What's that?
That's the worst post-op pain I've ever had. The only reason I'm interjecting is because I'm speaking to your story. Because I had the L5S1 fusion, and about 2 months before the surgery, I had not been on meds at all. But they finally got the MRI, and they're like, "Yo, you've got microfractures in your back. You've got a spondy. Like, we need to go in and fuse your vertebrae. Like, I'm sure you're dealing with a lot of pain, but you've gone this long without pain medicine. You should probably just continue to not take pain medicine." And the doctor said, "Don't take pain medicine." I was like, "Fuck you, give me that shit. Like, get the fuck out of here." Because they're basically like, you have every reason in the world to be taking pain medicine, but if you don't, you should probably not. And I was like, "Fuck you, give it to me." And then I was popping pills like crazy. I was chewing pills. I was snorting pills. I was drinking with the shit. And then 2 to 3 months later, I go in for surgery in this post-op, and I'm dying. And I remember it so clearly. Justin Cobb and my wife, and Justin's another black friend of mine who's a pilot. He was in the Navy. He out of San Diego now. He's a commercial pilot. And Justin and my wife were in there, and they're like, "Yo, you're tripping, bro. Like, what does this feel like? Like, how does this feel?" And I was like, it was the time of the honey badger. I don't know if you remember the honey badger.
Oh, yeah. Honey badger didn't give a shit.
Yeah. I was like, I feel like there's a honey badger in my back, eating my fucking spine right now. Like, that's like that's how bad it hurts. Like, the level of pain is I can't.
It's intense, man.
It's intense.
Yeah, no, it was bad. But, so I wanted to do it, like, without any pills because I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it, number one. And number two, like, to help other veterans, like, that were struggling to be like, listen, like, if I could do it, you can do it. Like, and it was a major undertaking. I mean, all the doctors were like, dude, there's no way you can do this without pain pills. I'm like, watch me. And I'm a stubborn, gritty motherfucker, So, like, I knew that I was going to be able to do it if I set my mind to it. But yeah, it was definitely challenging. But after I had all those surgeries, I was done working. Like I was out of corporate. You know, the Social Security was like, dude, like you've had enough surgeries. Like you're done. I'm like, man. And so coming from the white community, like we're talking about, like I hated when people would ask me what I did for a living. And my wife's like, because it just like, dude, it made me feel like, dude, what do I say? You know, like, oh, I'm disabled. I'm on disability. I'm a podcaster. Why is that even a thing? Like, why do I even need to answer that fucking question? Like, why are you asking me? You know, like, are you paying my bills? Like, who cares? And and so you hit it spot on when you said, like, when you meet somebody in the black community, you're meeting them, not the representative or who they want you to see. And man, that's I like that. And I apologize to the listeners that we went down this tangent of the George Floyd stuff, but it is a current event and it's definitely polarizing. And I think from a mental health perspective, it's shifting a lot of people. It's either A, waking you up, B, pissing you off, C, maybe even depressing you to see what's going on in the world. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, I've just noticed, I mean, I do tell my black friends, like, I will say this, like, in positivity for our white brethren and sisters, like, it definitely illustrated it in a way where I think that a lot more people get it now than maybe got it before. And, you know, you can look at whatever statistics and whatever numbers and whatever this you want to say, but the bottom line is, you know, the media and history and, you know, our past has built a fear around black men and what we witnessed was without question a murder. And I think that, you know, 90% or so of the population, when they saw that tape, that's what they saw. They saw a helpless man, like, you know, being murdered. So that's what I saw. And I watched the whole 9 minutes, you know, and I wasn't somebody who jumped on. I wasn't somebody who, I won't say jumped on the bandwagon, but I wasn't someone who was quick to cast judgment in other situations that are lumped in with this particular situation. But I think that there was something that was different about this time. It was something different. It was something that was obvious, and it was something that was impossible to deny. And I think that it changed the world, you know, and as tragic as it was, and it cost them, you know, this individual their life, like, I can only hope that my life carries as much meaning, or even a fraction of as much meaning as what we just witnessed, you know, and that's all we're fighting for. That's all anybody's fighting for, is to live a life of meaning, to live a life of purpose, you know, and try to figure out how to take care of their family along the way. You know, it brings us back full circle. That's all I'm trying to do. All I'm trying to do is try to live a life of meaning and purpose and take care of my family. That's it, you know. And I would love to be able to do that, and what I feel like God's calling me to do, which is to impact the veteran community and impact veterans' mental health and veteran suicide. And no matter how hard shit gets for me, no matter how bad it gets, I'm not gonna fucking kill myself. I can tell you that shit right now. Like, that shit ain't gonna happen. And it's hard some days. It's hard some days for me to not shoot myself. You know, it is, but I won't. So that's my promise to you. I won't kill myself. So
no, thank you, man. I appreciate you saying this. No, seriously, man, because I think there's a lot of people that have this whole like you know, 22 a day push-up thing or whatever, and like I'm not interested in that. You know, like I get it, I understand it, but like for me, it's like I want to actually make a bigger impact, not by doing push-ups. I actually want to talk to people and have the conversations that you and I are having right now, because I think they're more impactful than me doing 22 push-ups on social media and then sending it to people like to tag them in it.
Yeah, that's like great. Like, are you going to do 22 push-ups and then blow your fucking brains out? Like, I mean, I will say I've seen like some of the benefits or the benefits of living a physical lifestyle and the endorphins it releases, and it's positive for mental health. Yeah. But, you know, I catch myself with that too. Like, am I really helping? Like, or am I just, you know, like kind of part of a conversation and I'm not having an impact? But
bro, you're having an impact, dude. I gotta tell you, man. I was listening to your song, you know, because I saw it. The first time I heard that song was I was in was a Drop Gunner posted on their page. Oh man. After Rory took his life, dude, I had that song like on repeat, dude, just in tears, man, just like listening to it. And like, I think and the video for me was like heavy, you know, at the very end where you go up and you walk into the room and you hug that other dude. And it just reminded me of like the love that there is within the veteran community. There's so much love there. And I think when you're in that dark place, a lot of people feel like they're alone. They feel like they're just like alone. Like no one's there to help. No one understands, right? Well,
you forget you have the biggest fraternity in the world behind you.
yeah, for sure. And that's the thing is that like everyone's like, reach out to your buddies and this and that. So sometimes like you think because no one's calling you or texting you that they don't care, but a lot of times just people are just involved in their own lives and shit like that. So like I'm going to encourage whoever's listening to this, whatever veterans or people in general that are listening to this, if you're in a dark place, it's okay for you to reach out too. Like don't rely on your buddies to always hit you up. Like as a friend and as a mentor and as a leader, like I will always do my best to reach out to people. If I feel like something's wrong, I will. But like it goes both ways.
Can I take it a step further?
Please.
I would say sometimes your buddies aren't your buddies.
Yeah.
Like I would say sometimes like the dudes that were in your squad or like the people that were in your company or this or that for whatever reason may not give a fuck about you. Like and that's okay. Like there's some guys in 2A that could kill a fuck less about me and what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? They have their own opinions about who I am, my motivations for doing it, my service, this or that. You might have some buddies in your fucking squad in your company that ain't your fucking buddies, and there's nothing wrong with that. I would say that 90% of the people I serve with have my back, and if something bad was going down, they would be there to help me. But it doesn't have to always be somebody that you serve with. It doesn't have to always be somebody who was in your unit. Those might be the same people talking shit behind your back, and wanting you to lose and wanting you to fail and all that shit. Fuck that, man. Like we're all here for each other across the board. Sometimes a stranger is a better option, and a lot of times a stranger is a better option for me. Like all those, I was rapping and shit back then. I got medevac for a non-combat related injury or illness. I was medevac for bilateral pneumonia, atypical Q fever. There's some cats, not many, and let me be clear for the record, not many cats, but there are some cats in 2A that think that I fucking bailed, because I got fucking pneumonia and not shot. So like, there's nothing I can do, nothing I can say, nothing I can accomplish is going to change the way some people or certain people in your life think or feel, and some of those relationships were meant to be temporary relationships. Not every relationship is meant to be permanent. So, sometimes it's okay to reach out to somebody new. It doesn't have to be somebody from your past or from your service. It can be me. It can be Josh. It can be, the 95 other veterans on your page. It doesn't have to be somebody who was in your fire team, and I'm cool with everyone on my fire team. Don't get me wrong, but there's some motherfuckers that don't like Doc Todd and 2A. Like, you know what I mean? I get not a lot of support from 2A. One of the things that's been difficult is the lack of support that I feel like I get from 2A and from people that I serve with. I feel like they should be the biggest cheerleaders of what I'm doing because I'm putting us on the map and I'm telling our story and I'm being real about it. And I never tried to be fake. I've never tried to say anything that wasn't true or real. I always own my story. And yet my brothers, where the fuck are they at? They're not the ones commenting on my shit. They're not the ones sharing my stuff. They're not the ones listening to my music. And if they are, they're doing it silently.
Yeah.
So,
That's the thing too. I think that I
thought that might be helpful to one person to hear that because there's got to be someone else out there that is dealing with something like that.
No, definitely. And I think that's part of the one of the issues I think within the veteran community is that there's a lot of people that try purposely to discredit another veteran's service or discredit whatever they're doing. And I don't know if it's an ego thing or if it's like I don't know what it is, but usually the people that are knocking you down are the people that are beneath you, not doing as much as you. It's not the people that are above you doing big things. They're usually not the ones that are going to be, trying to knock you down. And it's like, as a fraternity and as a brotherhood, I think we need to do a better job of taking care of one another, supporting each other's success, and going out of your way to comment on people's stuff, to like their stuff, to share their stuff. Do what you can to boost it up. I mean, it's important, man.
Yeah, there was people, like before, I will say this, and you're going to be at different ages, stages, times in your life where you feel differently about this stuff. Like pre-combat medicine, when, like you're talking 2016, 2015, 6-7 years removed from our deployment, we got guys posting stuff about our deployment, like, once a week. and like steady, like super connected to them. Like, yo, move on with your motherfucking life. Like there was a time in my life where I was like, yo, y'all motherfuckers need to move on with your life. Like this shit was 8 years ago. Like it's almost like a high school state champion Letterman football guy who never made it in college and like never made it in the pros. Like you still talking about this shit, bro? Like move on with your motherfucking life. And like so, like now here I am, and I'm that guy, right? In a different age, in a different stage, and I'm sure there's a lot of people like Doc. Move on with your fucking life, And it's
but I think it's different though, bro, because I think there's my buddy Chris Osman always talks about like, what are you doing now? That's great that you were a SEAL, you were in the Marines, you're in the Air Force, Coast Guard, Army, whatever. But what are you doing now with your life? So like for you, it's like you're grinding. You're on the grind trying to make a difference. It's not you holding on to your past or holding on to like, it's like you're actively progressing. There's people that are so attached to their DD Form 214 and so attached to like what they did in the military that they can't even see outside of that. It's like their whole identity is largely attached to their military experience. And although it may be a powerful experience and although it may be an influential time of your life, you got to move on. You got to use that as like a catapult, I guess, a catapult you in a positive, better direction.
No, I agree. I think you're right. I mean, and it's cool that you put it like that because, yeah, I mean, you got to move on, but you also, you remember the past and, you do this and do that. Like, it's not like there's a difference between living in like the high school glory days of catching the touchdown pass of like, oh, here's when I was in Afghanistan. And then like utilizing that as something that pushes you forward or drives your passions moving forward. But I just want to be fair and equitable and say that there was definitely a time in my life where I was looking at posts like, yo, these motherfuckers need to move on with their life. Like, this shit was 7 years ago. Like this was 8 years ago. Like, what are you doing now? And now like my whole life is circled around these type of endeavors and these things. And it's like I'm moving on with my life hardcore, but it's also like hanging on to the past is like part of how I can tell our story and part of how I can, share and I'll tell anyone who's listening, I know that you're super, super respected in this community. Like anyone who's listening, like if you go listen to combat medicine, that motherfucker's unfiltered. It's unfiltered. Like that is an infantry medic's tale of Afghanistan. Like it is there is no fucking pauses, no breaks, no filters, no concern of judgment. No, it was just like, I feel a call to put this into the world because like this is something that I feel called to put in the world. And here we are 3 years later. And I want to talk to you about this too. I want to talk to you about your profession, your craftsmanship, your skill, because you've gotten better as a journalist and as a podcaster and as an interviewer. You've gotten a lot better over the last couple of years, I will say personally, respectfully.
I appreciate that, dude.
And I'm a lot better hip hop artist than I was 3 years ago, but nothing's as popular as the very first song I dropped, Not Alone. Like it's probably the simplest, easiest, most basic ass shit that I ever dropped in my entire career. And it's still the most popular shit I've ever done. And, that speaks back to control. It speaks back to motive. It speaks back to purpose and everything. Cause there's no comparison to the artist that I am today, skill wise and ability and focus wise and concept wise to the artist that I was in 2017. Yet still, the most popular piece of music I've ever dropped was dropped in June of 2017, and it's Not Alone. And I don't know if I'll ever drop a more popular song.
Yeah, that song was heavy, man. It was like everything about it. That's crazy though. With music though, it's like you can progress. Like and someone told me this with even podcasting. It's like I could be whatever kind of podcaster I want to be. I can be whatever kind of interviewer I want to be. But sometimes it takes having one guest on my show to completely blow my podcast out of the water. It's like if I have Joe Rogan on my podcast is probably going to blow up. Didn't mean that I was a way better podcaster because, I just happened to have Joe Rogan on my podcast. So now people know what it is, So Not Alone was one of those things where it's like you don't know with music like when it's going to hit. It's like it could be the beat, it could be the rhythm, it could be who knows, But like the words to that song, everything about that song is heavy, and like I love it, man. It like hits a lot of the chords, man, especially in this community for sure.
I love it too. It's kind of our fourth or fifth favorite song on the album. You know, my favorite song on the album is the intro. Polar Hope Foray is my favorite song on that. But there'll never be another Combat Medicine. And I think that's a mistake that we all make as consumers, is that, you know, we attach to this one representation of an individual or a person, and we say that, like, okay, that is the completion or the totality of who that person is. And it's like, no, that's not it. And there was definitely a stage there, like I told you earlier in the show, like there was definitely a stage where it became about me and it wasn't about everyone else. And that was somewhere in the middle. It started off pure. It started off about everyone else. Combat Medicine, it was about everyone else. It wasn't about me. It was about everyone else for probably like another year. And then like sometime after Shadow Game EP and after the stuff with Zakari, like it became about me. It became about, you know, I will say this for the record. This is not my quote, but I've heard it and it's so true. Comparison is the greatest killer of joy there is.
For sure.
And comparison is a huge killer of joy. And I got to compare myself to other rappers in the space, specifically other veteran rappers, specifically other people that were military-centric rappers, and trying to understand how on God's green earth is this motherfucker more successful than what I am. How are they garnering more attention? How are they getting more acclaim? How are they getting more eyes, more ears, more this, more that? Like, how is that physically fucking possible? Because what we're doing, we're actually standing on a platform. We're trying to make a difference. We're making high quality music, high quality productions. We're not filming bullshit, gimmicky stuff on our fucking iPhone, putting out trash. I mean, still to this day, no, you know what? I won't even say no offense. I'll say massive offense. I'll say fuck Matt Best, and I'll say fuck all the people over there at, you know, whatever that company, Black Rifle Coffee and all those guys are. Like, I'll fucking say that. You don't have to say that. I'll say fuck them. And that's the most listened to military rapper in the world, Matt Best. That bullshit, trash, shit, crap that he puts out is the most listened to military music that exists in this world. He has 10 times, 20 times the Spotify listeners that somebody like me or the Marine rapper has, or someone like Grant Duget, or someone like Apollo Blaze, or people who are making stuff that they're pouring their heart into, they're putting production value into, and we have some gimmicky ass, comicky bullshit, business shit that's getting 900x times the eyeballs and ears of the serious stuff that's going down in our community. I'll never understand that, but I will say that because of that, comparison is the greatest killer of joy. Comparison is the greatest killer of joy. Like, if I can make some Navy SEAL versus Army Ranger battle rap with two trashy, terrible rappers that's terribly recorded, that's terribly mixed, that's terribly mastered, that has some funky, gimmicky, corny-ass fucking music video to it, and now I can get the entire community's eyeballs on me, or I can continue to try to do something that matters. And that's been fucking hard, bro. It's been real hard to see. And I've gotten very little to no support in the veteran business community, in the veteran influencer community. It's like some competition. Like, nobody wants to support us. Nobody wants to support you. No one wants to support other people. It's like we're all fighting for the same piece of the pie, and nobody's actually trying to fucking push the cause forward. And I got into that headspace, and then I was like, okay, fuck you guys. I'll just prove I'm a dope rapper. I'll just prove I'm one of the best rappers to ever live, and I'm just gonna rap, you know. And Abby came up to me somewhere in the midst of this, and she was like, "What in the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you even doing anymore? Like, are you trying to be a rapper now, or are you trying to help veterans? Like, what the fuck are you even doing?" And yeah, it's hard, man. I don't know. I'm being real as fuck, but I mean, it's just hard, you know, because it's like you get to this point where you just wonder, like, how is any of this shit even possible, you know? But
on that same vein, do you think that social media is a detriment or a positive for mental health?
Negative. And if I didn't have to be on it, I wouldn't. And in a lot of ways, we're moving away from it and towards organic marketing now. Like, we're just trying to build a regional audience now, and we're getting out in the streets with flyers, and, you know, we're trying to move away from some of the social media marketing, because my audience is so segmented across the world. Like, I got fans in Yugoslavia and fans in like Phoenix and fans in Chicago and Atlanta and like all over the world. And that's cool. Like that's great. But that doesn't put 300 people in the venue, you know? Right. And I am one of the few military rap artists that does perform live on a regular basis. And we do pack venues out and we put people in the venue. We meet people, we greet people, we sign shit, we sell shit. You know, we believe in our music. Like we got a Nashville team behind us. We got a legit Atlanta production team behind us. We put on a good live show. We go meet people. Like the craft matters to us, but it's not helping me to be segmented across the entire world. I'd be better off to have a super big following here in Atlanta than I would be to have a bunch of people spread out all over the world. But, you know, it's cool to get the streams, but that's not where the money comes from. The money comes from, you know, shows. It comes from speaking engagements. It comes from appearances. It comes from corporate endorsements and sponsorships and specific work things. The money doesn't come from you click and play on my shit in Seattle, Washington. Although, while like I really want you to click play on my shit in Seattle, Washington, it's not paying my bills. You know what I mean? So It's like, what are you focused on? Are you focused on reaching the greatest amount of people, or are you focused on building a sustainable business? And I think those are two completely different missions. And we've been focused on reaching the greatest number of people possible. And now we're getting forced into a corner where we've got to focus on building a sustainable business.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's a weird spot to be in, you know. And I was asking somebody about with the social media. Like for me, like I couldn't do the podcast. You and I probably would have never met if it wasn't through social media. So for me, like I think it's a user thing. It's like you can either make it a positive or a negative experience based on what you're looking for. But I think that there is, like you said, the comparison is the thief of joy, and it can be true sometimes. You know, when you're looking at people, when I look at other podcasters and I look at other people, and it's like I feel like I'm a better interviewer. I feel like I put my money where my mouth is. I feel like I'm going and I'm traveling to all these people. I'm not asking for anything in return. All I'm asking for you is to share it. You know what I mean? And I'm willing to do all the legwork, do everything that I need to do to put out a good product. And then you see other people that are doing it, and they're not putting as much effort into it, and it just like seems like it's coming to them effortlessly, and it's like, damn, man. But I've chosen over the last couple months I'm not going to make any more comparisons, man. My life is my life, you know, and like I'm going to do my best to stay in my lane and to put my best foot forward, share what I want to share, and not really give a fuck about what people think, you know. And if it was up to me, like, I wouldn't have a social media. I would my flip phone comes tomorrow. I'm going back to a flip phone, and everyone's like, dude, you're going to go to a flip phone. I'm like, yeah, for sure. I was like, I don't want to be on my phone as much. You know what I mean? I have a computer that I'm on right now. I have a camera I can take pictures with. I have all my recording equipment I can do all that stuff with. But like, I spend too much time on this damn iPhone. Like, I don't want to be on it anymore. You know, it's stealing my joy from like being more present. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of my mental health issues come from not being present, from being too much of the past or too much in the future. And part of that is by being wrapped up into it.
I keep thinking something different's going to happen on this thing. Like I keep thinking like Instagram's going to stop like stifling my growth. I keep thinking like they're going to stop shutting me down. I keep thinking like I'm going to post something and that's going to be the game changer. And it's fucking not, bro. Like whatever box that I'm in, I'm already in that box.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. Oh, dude, they got me so fucked up, bro. They fucking stifled the shit out of my growth. I mean, I don't care what anyone says. I've known that for years. This is not a new thing. Like when I have massive engagement on something and I get no hashtag looks or I get no explore looks or none of that, and I shouldn't know as much about it as I do, but I've tried to build a business on this thing. Like I've tried to build a movement on this phone. And I've spent the greater majority of the last 4 or 5 years on this motherfucker trying to create a movement. And it ain't having it. So they don't want it. So we're going to have to create it another way. And plenty of movements have been created on different ways than this motherfucker right here. So, you know, they're not my friend. These people are not my friends. They're not in my camp. They don't want to see me win. So like I have to win a different way.
Yeah. And I think part of that is that, like, for me anyway, is like, I feel like getting rid of my iPhone and getting back to the flip phone is like more of a way for me to get refocused, more of a way to for me to get laser focused on exactly what it is I'm trying to do. Like what's my mission statement? What am I trying to accomplish? And like just get the distractions away from me. You know what I mean? I could very easily be more disciplined with my time, more disciplined with my phone, more disciplined with what I'm doing. But why if I don't have to? Like, make my life easier. Be like, no, just get rid of the distraction, stay in your lane, and get shit done. And so that's what I'm just choosing to do.
And it becomes a hurdle because it's easy to say, like, if I post this or I push this out on my phone or I do this technological task, that I'm actually promoting my project. When in more, as my wife mentioned to me yesterday, wouldn't it be more productive to be like, who gives a fuck what your people think about this? And let's craft like a really good email pitch to an organization that would get behind what you're doing here with Sammy, or get behind what you're doing here with Not Alone, and like not necessarily like live and die based on like what people are saying about it in like 2 seconds, and not just post or throw a bunch of fucking DMs around and try to get people to repost and do this. Maybe just like take like a step back and craft an email over 20 minutes and pitch the right organization with the right message and offer them the right ask and solve a problem for them. Like, there's so many times when it's like this becomes a crutch and it's like, well, it's real easy for me to go work on this right now and do something productive, but you actually could have like utilized a little bit more difficult avenue or approach, and it would have been bared a lot more fruit. So I'm with you. If I was not in music and motivational speaking, I would not have it. If I was just a normal person that was okay with, and I don't mean this disrespectfully to all the normal people out there, but if I was not trying to build a business around music and motivational speaking, and I had a job that I was happy with and a family that I was happy with and this and that, then I probably wouldn't have it. You know, I do feel like it is a necessary evil as it pertains to my business. You've got to meet people where they are, and people are on their phone. So if I'm going to meet you, I'm going to have to meet you there at some point. But I need to do a better job about being more strategic, about being more selective about when I utilize it and when I don't. So I would say that it's probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you one more question, man, before we sign off. And that's, if you had one message that you could give to the listeners that are maybe listening to this and they're in a bad spot, like, what's a hopeful message that you can give them?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the spot that you're in right now is temporary, and the only way that you're going to change that situation that you're in is by, you know, activity, is by physically creating a space for it to go away. Like, you know, I said this in my life today, you know, action begets action, inaction begets inaction. Depression and negativity begets more depression and negativity. You've got to snap out of it, all right? And the only individual that's going to be able to snap you out of it is you. All right. So it's really, it sounds so dumb, but it's a lot of it is just a decision. You've got to decide that you're going to take charge and take ownership of your life moving forward, and that you're going to create the positive future that you want and live into that positive future, as opposed to living into the pain of the present or the pain of the past, because it's not going to change if you don't change it. So if you want it to change, then go fucking change it, because as much as I've struggled and I've had, as I've shared here, lots of ups and downs, I've been able to snap myself out of it a bunch of times. And now is an example of a time where I'm snapping myself out of it, and I'm getting really serious about taking positive action in my life to stop the decline that's going on right now, to stop the decline that's going on mentally, physically, etc. So you have to, you know, you've got to slap yourself in the face. I told a guy the other day, I got this guy, I won't tell his name, but he's been suicidal, and he's been leaning on me for the last couple of weeks, you know, in his current state. And he was like, well, what do you think about? And I said, sometimes I just say to myself, like, I just think of someone slapping me in the face and saying, yo, stop being such a bitch. And just slap, like, yo, stop being such a motherfucking bitch. Like, stop. You know, and that's probably super politically incorrect. But it's something that's helped me a lot of times, just thinking like, yeah, just somebody needs to slap the fuck out of you, man. Like, wake up. You know?
I was telling somebody that the other day, man, that you know, I'm always at war with my inner bitch, you know, and you know, and so it's like, dude, I every day, like, I go out and I bike, you know, 10 miles. And it's like, all right, cool, I'm going to go bike my 10 miles. And it's like, all right, good. But some days, dude, shit gets in the way, you know, like my kid is sick, or like I got to go pick up my other kid, or like something happens and it like throws me off my game. It's like, oh, I only got 4 miles in today. Well, it's like, well, you know what that means tomorrow? You're going to have to do 10 plus 6 because you fucking shortchanged today on 6 miles. So you got to add them to tomorrow's shit. And there's so many times where I just want to be like, dude, fuck that, dude. I'm not doing that shit. Yeah. But when I do that, that inner dialogue gets even worse as far as my mental health is concerned. So like I crush that inner bitch and it makes me feel better. It makes me feel like a winner. It's like you're winning those little small battles, you know?
That's the wristband. Crush the inner bitch. Like that's the reality. And that has nothing to do with anything but like that little fucker inside of you that sucks. Yeah. Because we all have a little fucker inside of us that sucks at life. And sometimes you got to crush that inner bitch, bro. That's helped me, and that's so simple. But it's like I have to yell at myself sometimes, like, dude, like, oh, I'm sleeping until fucking noon. Okay, yeah, I work till 3 a.m. I'm not getting up or doing this. Like, yo, stop being a fucking bitch. Like, just be a man or be a fucking dope person or just like, what is up, And I told him that, and he was like, yo, I really needed to hear that. So it like helped him. So I guess I'll just use that because it's helped me and it's helped him. So
I dig it, man.
Maybe good enough for everyone else. So hopefully this was good today for you. I certainly enjoyed it.
Nah, for sure, brother. This is awesome, man. I truly appreciate like your authenticity, man. The fact that you're willing to let it rip. You speak from the heart. You can feel it. And I really know, like, it's not thinking. I know it's going to resonate with a lot of people that listen to this episode. And if there's anything that I could ever do for you, man, to promote what you're doing, to promote your work, to help you in any way, dude, I'm always a phone call away or a message away or whatever. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
I would say the best way to connect with me is probably on Instagram. It's at the real Doc Todd. I don't really get on Facebook. I don't really get on Twitter. I don't have a TikTok. So my only social media is at the real Doc Todd, and I'm not going to give you my cell phone number. So I would say that that's probably the best. And as far as it pertains to the best way to get to what matters to me is not necessarily that Instagram page. The best way to get to what I'm doing and what matters is to search the music, listen to the music. It's
where do they find it? What's the best way for them to find it?
It's on all platforms. It's Doc Todd, DOC, space TODD. So that's Delta Oscar Charlie, space Tango Oscar Delta Delta. So Doc Todd. If you search that on any platform, Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, Deezer, whatever, wherever you get your music, Pandora even, I'm going to pop up and I'll save you some time. The stuff that people really like is on Combat Medicine. The song that's our most popular, probably Not Alone, Feels Good, PTSD, Lay 'Em Down, like these, search at your own pace, but that's the stuff that seems to be resonating with people the most as far as the numbers go. So, and I appreciate you, Josh, man. I've been wanting to do this a long time ago. I finally got to do it.
Yeah, no, I apologize. We weren't able to do it in person, man, but I can guarantee you, man, I'll be out in Atlanta, dude. We'll do it in person one of these days for sure. We'll do it.
Well, let me know when it goes live or whatever, and I'll throw something up and stuff. And
most definitely, brother.
I thought it was a good combo, so hopefully it's one that you like as well.
Absolutely, brother. I did, man. Thank you so much.
Rock and roll, G, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, brother. Peace.
Thank you for listening to My Backstory. Stay motivated and stay connected off the show. Follow at my_backstory_ to be a part of the journey to recovery and to see where your story goes. Or visit us online at hereismybackstory.com.